Surfing the internet.
Oh, yes, just after midnight in the big town, you are tuned in and turned on to America's most listened to. This is Totally 70s.
More music. Totally 70s. New York. Mr. 70s on the Totally 70s Radio Network. Oh, DiMarco, it's great. Excellent. Number one. Number one.
Music Radio, Totally 70s gets on a better variety of your favorite songs all in a row. There's always a better song here on 70s. A little bit after midnight, Mr. 70s just kind of stepping on the toes of DJ Don Edwards, and got some great music coming up. And of course, your requests and dedications are on the way. But right now, step aside for Rod Stewart here on 70s. Music Radio, Totally 70s, America's number one choice. An infatuation of a radio station?
Music Radio.
I would say so myself. It's 12 minutes after 12 o'clock. Welcome aboard, gang. You got a Saturday night versus a Sunday morning in high gear, depending on what time zone you're in right now. You got Mr. 70s at the controllers. Want to say hi to my buddy Big J hanging out tonight. Always hanging out here on Totally 70s. So nice to have you along. A Carter fan in there, too. And Chick Rob and DJ Don Edwards, a fabulous job, as always, here on the Totally 70s Radio Network. What a team of great jocks we have here. Frankie, thanks for joining us. Mark 1956, Mimic. Hello to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Totally 70s. She just got out of work, just got out of skating, and of course, decided to stop by and say hi. We'll be getting our butts back to the rink real soon. Saturday nights, I do believe we start off at 7 o'clock at night on Saturday nights and go till 10. It's an adult skate / family night, the best of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. We do it at Skate Time 209 starting every fall. So hope if you're in the area, you can join us. Want to say hi to Derry, Olympus Mods, and Penny Lane too, and Randy and Kate in the house, and Russ hanging out. Yep, he's still getting over that Huey Lewis concert. You know what? I got a chance to see those guys last winter in Staten Island, and Darren Myers actually joined us for that concert, Russ, and a fabulous one it was. He's a great entertainer. Hello to you, Thumper, and a Badlands in there. Hello, Gordy, out there in Texas. Great to have you along. And a Ken, Ola, and a Pixie, Retro Mike 2, and a WL Chris. The return of WL Chris. And to think I was just going to send you a message and say, you know, Chris, it's been a while since you've been here.
Your station. Totally 70s.
And he's back, just like all of my friends. You're my best friends, and thanks for joining us here on the Totally 70s Radio Network.
Ooh, you make me live.
Music Radio, Totally 70s. Well, the cart almost fell apart in my hand, so let's see how it sounds. Not half bad. 16 minutes after 12 o'clock, you are tuned in and turned on to America's most listened to. This is the Totally 70s Radio Network.
I guess you wonder where I've been.
Music Radio, Totally 70s. Bobby Caldwell, What You Won't Do for Love, and a good old-fashioned Fidelipac cart. They were actually big during the days of AM radio. They put news, sports, and yes, they even put music on them way back in the day. It's 12:21, your weekend weather, clear and cool for the overnight. Lows around 49 tomorrow, sunny, gorgeous. Go on out, enjoy the sun. Going to be a high of around 77 with very little clouds. So get on out, enjoy it. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, low around 54, and the outlook for Monday, more of the same, sunny, warm, and a high around 76. Right now in New York, we've got 60 degrees at the Totally 70s Radio Network. Here's Jerry Rafferty.
On the street, I was talking to a man.
Music Radio, Totally 70s. You know, Tyler, it's all in the mind. You can always tell when a song is running slow, but when it's sped up just a tiny bit, now the brain just kind of follows the rhythm, and before you know it, you're just kind of noodling along. It's 12:25 here on Totally 70s, and on rare occasion, we actually jumped from turntable number 2 to turntable number 1, and back and forth and back and forth. And Russ, well, over here on turntable number 1 for fun is the sports LP from Huey, and we've got it on classic vinyl for you. Tell them you heard it exclusively here on the Totally 70s Radio Network. Music Radio, totally 70s. Well, Cassandra Meadows out there in Socrates, New York, a.k.a. Mimic. Are you listening carefully? All that you want is a great set of skates and from time to time, music from Ace of Base. And here it is for you on 70s. Music Radio, totally 70s. It was on what we called a power rotation back when I worked at Greater Danbury's 98Q, and it was actually a brand new song back in the day when I played it. Ace of Base, wrapping up another long set of your favorites here on the Totally 70s Radio Network. You know, we've got so many great DJs and so many great time slots, and you know, we will return with Monday Night Love coming up probably sometime in the fall with Mrs. 70s on Monday nights. And Tuesday, you got DJ Retro, and oh, don't forget, every Wednesday night, we turn into a completely different radio station when Jim Long comes along, and, well, I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that here on Totally 70s.
Hey, all you rockers, this is Jim Long, the host of Wednesday Night Rocks. I hope you'll join me every Wednesday as I bring you the best in classic, glam, punk, and heavy metal rock and roll. If it rocks, it's right here on Wednesday Night Rocks. And it all kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The only place to hear it is right here on the Totally 70s Radio Network. So I hope you'll join me for a night of fun chat and great music.
Music Radio, Totally 70s. Mr. 70s on the Totally 70s Radio Network. Oh, DiMarco, 1977.
Music Radio, totally 70s, America's number one choice and a number one hit off a number one selling album. The Dreams song was number one back in 77, and of course the number one selling LP being Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, which remained number one right up until 1983 when Michael Jackson's Thriller knocked it out of first place. Now, moving ahead to the clock to around 1999, early 2000, I can remember vividly when working at radio station Oldies 97 in Poughkeepsie, and they used to do this thing called music tests, where they would test songs to a theatrical audience. You'd get a bunch of people in an audience, and you'd play little song clips, and they'd write down on paper if they knew the song, if they liked the song, if they wanted to hear the song on the radio. And Randy compiled a whole big pile of great songs from the 70s, and he says, look at this list, Paul. He goes, I've got a great list here. We're going to be adding all these songs to Oldies 97's playlist. I know they're going to do great. And when the test results came back, he just bowed his head down. He shook. He looked at me. He handed me the test results, and he said, Mr. 70s, explain this to me. And when we looked at the song Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, are you ready for this, gang? I hope you're sitting down. The song Dreams by Fleetwood Mac came up as an unrecognizable song from the 70s. What the fuck were they playing it to? A theater full of monkeys? No. It couldn't have been monkeys because we like the monkeys. It had to be something from another planet. God damn it! That's more like it. Well, anyway, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a true story. You can share it with anyone you'd like. It's 20 before 1 a.m. on a Sunday morning here in New York Town. We've got the best music right here on the best weekend station. You've got Totally 70s. This is Shaka Khan.
I look in your eyes and I can see.
Music Radio, Totally 70s is America's number one for fun. You knew that, right?
Music Radio.
That's Shaka Khan right around the tail end of 1984 and Through the Fire. What a great song, and many of the greats you hear on Totally 70s that other radio stations just never get around to playing. It's 12:44 on 70s. You know, Don, I was just thinking, is it probably safe to say when they do these music tests, the audience participation ranges between the age of 9 and 14 years old? That would be the only explanation why a song like Dreams would come up as an unrecognizable song from the 70s. They weren't around. They weren't even thought of. They weren't even a twinkle in their mother's eye. Here's the Commodores on your 70s station.
know it sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Yeah.
Oh, Oh, yes, always sounds great on analog tape. Lionel Richie and the Commodores on Music Radio.
The best music. Totally 70s.
It's 12:49 here at Totally 70s. That makes it about, 11 minutes in front of 1 a.m. Sunday morning here in New York. And Don, I know a little while ago during your cast, you played a Seals and Crofts song over here on the Warner label. And I got flipping through the 45s. I got thinking, I said, well, I certainly can't top what you did. But looking through these original pressing Warner 45s, I realized that I do have a Seals and Crofts song, one of their probably the last top 40 hits that they had. And lo and behold, for some reason, I have 2 copies of it. Now, if you were watching very carefully, I put both of them on the turntable just to see which one sounded better than the other. And believe it or not, they equally sound as lousy. And now I'm saying to myself, what the hell am I doing with 2 copies?
The 70s sound, we're totally 70s.
I guess one's up for grabs.
The best music commercial free. Mr. 70s on the Totally 70s Radio Network. Oh, DiMarco.
Love you came to my rescue.
Music Radio, Totally 70s. It was Seals and Crofts' attempt to do a disco tune right around 1978, and probably safe to say one of the very last top 40 hits the supergroup had. It's 12:53. Hello to you, Patrick, in California, IA. Here's Cyndi Lauper. Music Radio, Totally 70s. Well, back around 1984, all the great FM radio stations in the New York Metro were all over that record. Radio stations like 103.5 WAPP, Hit Radio 95 WPLJ, and, of course, Hit Radio Z100 out there in Newark, New Jersey. It's 3 minutes before 1 a.m. here on Totally 70s. Russ? Yes, do I have Joan Jett? I do. And if you're looking very closely, this is actually one of the last sealed LPs that we bought on closeout just before record stores were liquidating their LPs and trying to get them off the shelves so fast that they could make way for the all-new compact disc and, of course, cassette singles, which drastically failed. The CDs are still around. And fact of the matter is, you'd be hard-pressed to find a sealed LP on any shelf in a record store now at $2.99. Last look, I think they were around $18.99 on an average. Expensive little pieces of vinyl. Supposedly, they are making them out of much thicker gram vinyl, which makes them sound better. But believe it or not, it's really all in the processing. Russ, thanks for joining us tonight. Got your Joan Jett. Okay, Joan, at this time, it is time to look Mr. 70s right in the eye and open up your mouth nice and wide and say, Music Radio, Totally 70s gets on a better variety of your favorite songs and continuous long song sets. All your favorites in a row and no commercials.
Music Radio.
That's what I'm talking about. It's about a minute after 1 a.m. here on Totally 70s. Believe it or not, back when Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll actually started to lose its steam, this was one of the follow-up hits. And radio stations WDRC AM and the FM back at that time were all over both of those records right there. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? How's everybody at in the chat room tonight?
I think they're good. I think they're hanging out. They're checking out some great songs. They're doing what's called audience participation, which is what we strive on here at the station. So that's good. I got a really cool tune coming up here, though, and I think you're going to approve of it. Matter of fact, I know you're going to approve of it. Back in it was probably around 1982. There was a group out known as the Flock of Seagulls, and they did a song called I Ran So Far Away that got a lot of airplay. Then they did this other song that really didn't get much airplay but should have actually gotten more airplay than I Ran So Far Away. And the song is called Space Age Love Song. And you being Space Child and this being Space Age, they kind of go hand in hand, if you know what I mean. All right?
Yeah, that sounds all right.
All right, so I'll get that on for you, Mark. Favorite radio station, what is it?
Totally 70s.
Nice. Music Radio, totally 70s. I ran so far away. If I had a photograph of you, I believe was one of their other songs, or wishing I had a photograph. Something about photograph, and of course, Space Age Love Song all came out between the years of around 1982 and 1983, and you just never really heard from them again. Name of the band is A Flock of Seagulls. It's here on Music Radio, totally 70s. It's 10 minutes after 1 a.m., and right now we've got music from Steve Perry. Here's Foolish Heart on totally 70s.
I need a love that grows.
Music Radio, totally 70s, America's #1 choice for better music on the World Wide Web. It's 13 minutes after 1 a.m. Sunday morning, along with Mr. 70s, your National Weather Service forecast for New York, New Jersey, and Fairfield County, Connecticut. Clear and cool for the overnight. Lows around 49. Tomorrow, sunny, gorgeous, high around 77. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, cool, low near 54. And Monday, looking real nice as we kick off the work week with sunshine and a high around 76. Right now in New York, under mostly cloudy skies, we've got 50 degrees with Daryl Hall and John Oates on the Totally 70s Radio Network. Music Radio, totally 70s on analog tape at 7.5 inches per second. Daryl Hall and John Oates, and she's gone right here on Totally 70s. Well, gone but never forgot, right? It's 18 minutes after 1 o'clock here on 70s, and well, lo and behold, Mark, you know, the fact that we've got so many dedicated listeners, and of course some of the best radio disc jockeys here on Totally 70s. We had a couple of people tonight that were watching your back. I want to actually wish I want to send out a shout out rather to Don Edwards and Russ out there in the chat room. Two jocks here at Totally 70s watching your back tonight, and said, I think we can find that song for Mark. So, Mark, we think we've got it for you here. And again, my disclaimer is I am not responsible for the audio quality of the next recording, for I am not the one who did any of this. We downloaded it, and we did the best we possibly could with it. Mark, Joan Jett and the Runaways, and I Love Playing with Fire here on 70s. Music Radio, an exclusive from Joan Jett and the Runaways, and a song called I Love Playing with Fire, courtesy of Don Edwards and, of course, Russ here on America's #1 choice.
Yep. Your station. Totally.
Certainly is. Well, drinking from a can says, I'd like to hear some Kansas, but please, no Dust in the Wind, no Carry On Wayward Son, and I figure, what the heck, let's break out the LP Monolith. Here's People of the South Wind on your 70s station. Music Radio, totally 70s. It was during a time when groups like Kansas, Foreigner, Styx, and many others were burning up the dial.
Music Radio.
Back around 1979, the LP entitled Monolith, that's Kansas and People of the South Wind. And you know, the only other song I think that came off that LP that even charted was a song called Reason to Be. And in my unprofessional opinion, I really feel that both the songs on that LP should have gotten a lot more airplay and done much better on the charts. It just didn't really happen for them with a Monolith. It's 26 minutes after 1, and you know, we tell you once in a while here on 70s, we play the best of the 70s, the 80s, and even a few great songs of the 60s. And even when Jim Long is on, he even plays some modern rock here at the radio station. What's in a name? Totally 70s. Well, it's a great radio station to hear all kinds of music from all sorts of genres and, of course, all sorts of eras, too. Don, I know how much you love the 60s, probably as much or more than I do. And, you know, every time I think of a great song of the 60s, this one just seems to come to mind. And best of all, this one is actually a remastered classic from the Classics 4. Here's Stormy on the Totally 70s Radio Network.
You were the sunshine, baby.
Music Radio, totally 70s. You know, Don, I never realized that the Classics 4 actually became the Atlanta Rhythm section. You learn something new at this station every day. Well, if you're looking for a cool night, you've got one here in New York Town. They're saying a low of around 49 and clear and cool for the overnight. So nice night to open up the windows and let some fresh air in. And, well, Paul Davis has a cool night for you right now on 70s. Music Radio, totally 70s. Don, am I looking at that properly? You're saying 108 degrees by Tuesday? Now would be a good time to think about visiting New York Maybe bringing that milk truck along. We could take that milk and turn it into some great soft serve ice cream. Here's the Eagles inside a long set of your favorites on 70s. Music Radio, Totally 70s is America's #1 choice for better music. The Eagles and the Best of My Love. Well, hey, listen, if you like to dance to the beat of a different drum, be sure to check out Craig's show, CraigTube, every Friday night here on Vaughn Live Television. Here's Linda Ronstadt.